A man described by North Oakland residents on social media as male, light-skinned, about 5'5", thin, trimmed beard, short, dark hair, white or light-colored sweatshirt, baggy, light-colored pants, black and gray backpack, was caught on camera attempting to break in a home Saturday night. The persons who owned the home the North Oakland Robber tried to break into with a screwdriver happened to be in the house as he was walking around. They did not hear him, but the camera's motion detection system alerted them to his presence. Another North Oakland resident recognized the man from the video and wrote, 61st Street, Friday night, he broke into a house. As of this writing, there is no update on who the man is, or, thankfully, any other break-ins he's done. But now, he is a wanted man in North Oakland and in Oakland. One has had his car broken into, and just on Grand Avenue, a quick smash, and there was nothing to grab because there was nothing in it. I really understand personally how it feels to go out and then realize that you cannot trust your surroundings to the point where you can simply go down the street and enjoy a movie or singing at the alley or shopping at a store without fear of someone trying to rob you or breaking into your car or trying to break into your home or breaking into your home. This has to stop. And I really have a warning for the person who's doing that and other people who are thinking about taking things from other Oaklanders and just terrorizing them or thinking that they can terrorize them off some idea that the Oakland police are not going to properly handle cases that are said to be misdemeanors. Patrick McCullough ran for mayor of Oakland in 2014 in part because he became very famous for an action he took against people in Oakland who were terrorizing him to the point of getting on his own front lawn thinking they had the right essentially to sell drugs on his property. They found out the hard way they didn't. Patrick McCullough shot the person who tried to terrorize him on his front lawn. Here's what we talked about when I interviewed him in 2014 as he was running for mayor of Oakland. So, tell me about the first time you ran for council, but more to that, you're actually known for an incident that happened, I believe, in 2005?
Yeah, 2005. Of all the things that I've been involved in, I guess this is one that took the briefest period of time to occur, and it's the one thing that people tend to remember.
Right.
But it actually was a part of growth from my being in Oakland, dealing with these people in office who were ineffectual. So the incident that happened that I was forced into was really caused by these lousy politicians who'd been in office and hadn't addressed the problems that I was left to address. And basically they started out with safety in my neighborhood and directly in front of my house. It had been an open air drug market for many years. I don't know what their reasons were. I talked to practically everybody who's was a politician between 94 when I moved to Oakland and 2005 when this incident became the news. And I was just very disappointed in their reactions. Everything from, that's so-and-so's district to, we won't get involved because that's their district. And so the problems that you see can be fixed. We won't try to fix them because that's, in this case, Jane Berner's district. Was that. So, I was pretty much figured out that I got to take care of this stuff myself, the things that I can't take care of. I can't do everything, which is one reason why I'm running for mayor, because I can do a lot of things that I can't do as just a regular black guy on the street. So my wife and I moved to our first home, our own home, in August of '94. promptly found out that the neighborhood wasn't quite what the realtor had convinced it was. And but it was one of the things that we were willing to accept. My wife's from a big city, New York, I'm from Chicago, and we say, okay, great, we happen to move to an area where there's a lot of crime, pretty much like what we were used to for much of our lives growing up. So we focused on the small things that we thought we could control, like what happens directly in front of our house. The city's had these ordinances for some time now that you're required to maintain the sidewalks in front of your house. Somebody falls on a crack, you're likely to get sued if it was your fault the crack was there. So I feel, well, geez, if I'm responsible for the trash going on my sidewalk and the cracks in my sidewalk, then why should I be made to tolerate a trashy acting person standing on my sidewalk committing a crime? It seems like this should be the government's responsibility, much like the crack in the sidewalk should be, but since they're saying it's my responsibility, then I'll take responsibility and act responsibly. So we began by talking to people, like, hey guys, you shouldn't do this. This is bad for little kids walking by. They shouldn't see you guys doing this. And some of the guys were receptive to that and said, yeah, man, we're fine. In fact, the majority of the people, that was the response from them was, well, nobody complained about it before, but okay, we cool, we're gone. Yeah. And I thought this was great. But over the course of years, I found that there was this one element that, hey, it didn't matter. They had no respect for me, what I wanted to accomplish, which is basically security in front of my house.
Yeah. This is your property.
It's my house, yeah.
Right.
When I'm not at home, I want to make sure my wife can enter and exit without any
be
problems.
safe, right.
But some of these folks felt like, hey, this is our streets, we own the streets. And it just seemed like such an odd thing to me, because let's wait a minute, I didn't know you could inherit a street, like, where's your deed, I paid for my deed, show me yours. So I just felt, well, okay, basically you have your claim is illegitimate. I know it's something that you're used to espousing, but I'm just not going for it. So I made a point of calling the police when I see something going on, and sometimes the cops would come, sometimes they would come a long time later, sometimes they wouldn't come at all for days. One time they came so long after the call, I really forgot why I called them. The guy says they had my address and they knew it was me when we called, and I just couldn't remember just what the particular incident was because a couple of others had happened in the interim. So basically, I find myself fighting the city first. There was a traffic barrier that was installed at the end of the block after next door neighbor's son had been killed at the end of the street.
Wow.
Yes, that happened just before
next door neighbor's son.
Yeah, his oldest son was killed in '93 at the intersection of 59th and Telegraph. And so they got this traffic barrier installed. It's supposed to have been there forever, I thought. But at some point, they came out with notice saying that the barrier was going to be removed. And I said, well, this is ridiculous. We got one thing that stopped some of the problem.
Right.
How can you say this is going to be removed? And again, I ran into this government and from the city councilman's office, councilwoman's office, and others in city government. They said, well, this is put up on a temporary basis and that time period is gone. So, I wasn't going for it. My wife and I had just become lawyers, just graduated, went past the bar just before we got the house.
What kind of law do you practice?
Actually, poverty law.
Oh, interesting.
Any law that keeps me in poverty is the law I practice. I don't make a dime doing anything. I haven't had a paying client for a while. I do things for favors for friends, but my main income is derived from a completely different source.
No, what is that?
I'm an electronics technician.
Oh, okay.
I have been for a while. I grew up Barney on I Spy was my idol.
Oh, that's right.
Mission Impossible. I was like,
right.
So I said, I want to be like that guy. I want to know what he knows. So I learned electronics, and still not hiding out in elevators, but I can do a lot of stuff. So when they told us that there was this legal reason why this barrier had to be removed, we researched and found that they were wrong. And we went back and forth with them, but eventually we had to sue the city 3 times. Each time we sued, we stopped we halted their removing the barrier. And then the city fell in this thing of, well, we're just going to let it go by neglect. We just won't take care of it, So it got banged up, and I went out and bought cement, and a couple of times rebuilt it myself. And then finally, right after that second rebuild, the city said, okay, we'll settle this latest lawsuit of yours and make it permanent. So it's been permanent. Well, that worked great for the traffic barrier, but what it did, it further angered people who were opposed to us wanting to make this place safer. So we got some static from some of the rabble-rousers. They come to meetings, smelling up the place, cussing up the place, and of course pointing fingers at me. So like I said, I'm from Chicago, and usually when somebody wants to give me a hard time, I think of how I can give them a harder time. It's just a natural response in me. So, I think they saw that I wasn't going to be intimidated, and they shifted tactics. Then it became straight out threats, People were threatening to do stuff. So I said, well,
these gang members?
Yeah, well, some were gang members. I had some direct threats from some known gang members and people who call themselves leaders of the gang, but also from some of the crowd on the left. Was this?
Are you Republican?
Well, it's funny. I've been Republican, I've been Democrat, I've been Peace and Freedom Party for longer than the other two, but I've been independent most of my life, and that's where I am in now, and I really don't see wanting to join a political party. They're too partisan. I'm looking at this is a Republican city or a Democratic city. This is a city of people, with different views on things, and I don't like these labels. It's almost like it's another way of pigeonholing people and saying, well, you're not important because you're this or you're that, or you belong to this or that group.
So how did you get to the point where you shot a man in your yard? Or a group?
I was standing in my yard. He was in his another property when he got shot. But what happened this particular day was it was a quiet February. It was drizzling, and I had just come home from work and had been watching Power Rangers with my son for about half an hour. And my wife says, hey, let's have crab tonight. So I was heading over to 12th Street, going to buy some crab, and I was on call from my job. Every once in a while, every few weeks or so, I have to do a standby where I'm the on-call person.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I said, okay, I had a couple of car keys in my hand. I'd go move the city car. I work for the city of Berkeley. I had to move that car so we can take my own personal car to go get the crab. So I looked outside the window, which is normal, make sure I don't see anything too crazy. The street looks clear. So I picked up my stuff and went outside to go move the car. Now, this is in 2005. We've been living there for 11 years now, almost 11 years. And during that time, I had been warned by many, many people that I should be armed because some people don't like me, and they apparently had heard some of the threats. Confidential informants had told them about the threats. Some other people who didn't care they were, being known, made threats, and all these got reported to me. So after several years, I reluctantly began to carry a pistol every time I leave out of the door. So I had a small pistol with me. I had my keys, my phone, my wallet, everything the guy needs to go out and buy food. So I went to the door, and as soon as I turned to lock the security gate, I turned around and I see this crowd of about maybe a dozen youngsters.
Wow. Not just one person, a dozen.
A dozen. Wow. It pretty much just came out of nowhere. They weren't there when I was in the house picking up my goodies. So I looked at them and says, well, great, okay. I'm doing the math. They weren't here a minute ago. They looked to be on their way someplace else. So, and they know me. We're not new to the neighborhood. So this should be a pretty simple encounter. They're going to keep going, and I'm going to get in my car and never the two will meet.
Yeah.
But instead, one of them in the crowd says, well, there's a snitch, you know. So I'm looking at this group of people, and I'm saying, great, okay, first place, I'm an adult, you know, responsible adult, been an adult for a long time. I'm not really used to letting some punk say something to me, especially some punk who's of a certain age, because you're a child, okay? If you don't have or show respect for me initially, then I'm going to tell you why you should, if I can. And so I saw this guy, and I figured, well, geez, you know, don't talk to me like that, and basically get the hell away from my house, you know. And so he didn't like that. So he charged towards me. And you ever see this? What is it like? One of these old cartoons where somebody gets hit and they fly through the air.
Yeah.
That's what happened, you know. The guy came towards me, swung. Like I say, I had my hands full.
Yeah.
You know, got a pistol tucked under my shoulder, and my hands full of keys in my wallet. Wasn't really ready to tussle with anybody, but when he hit me, he swung, and it was just a glancing blow.
Yeah.
So I hit him in the chest, and he flew like in a cartoon, and almost knocked him off his feet. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've already verbally combated you. Okay, now I've physically combated you, and you've lost on both counts. You should be leaving me alone now. You know, that's what I would have done. But instead, now the whole crowd starts throwing stuff at me. I got a big old, like, yard-long stick thrown and just barely missed me. Just glanced my shoulders, put a dent in the car, in the same car I was standing next to. It threw a couple of rocks, you know, and I'm thinking, wow, I gotta watch these people. It's like an arc of them now, you know, and just over to my right. So I'm watching them. I knew I had the immediate beef with this one guy, and then right in the midst of this guy goes, he's looking at a couple of other guys approaching from the Shattuck direction, and says, give me the pistol. Let me have the pistol. And it was like, whoa. It was like, yeah, you know how the light shines through a searchlight on a foggy night. It was like, of all the things, this is not what I wanted to hear.
Wow.
And I knew exactly what it meant.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doubt. It wasn't like, give me the gad or something. You could have been confused.
Right.
So now, you know, and I've had, you know, some experiences. So immediately I'm looking to see where this gun is. And the two guys he was facing, about maybe 20 feet away, one of them lifts up his jersey, and there in his waistband is his pistol. So I'm thinking, geez Louise. Right, you know, here I am wanting to go get crab. I thought the hardest problem would be finding crabs with all the legs, but instead I got to deal with this life and death situation.
Right.
And right then I was deciding, okay, you know, I'm not a martyr. You know, I plan on surviving this encounter. So I focused on the guy with the gun. I was really prepared to shoot him. But for some reason, and I know what the reason is now, is that he wasn't the real super threat. He was a threat, but he wasn't the worst threat. The worst threat was the guy asking for the gun. And now he's right next to the guy with it. And as soon as I was about to shoot the guy with the gun, well, the guy who's doing all the talking and combating with me puts his hand on him. And that's when I fired, and ended his ability to shoot me. So
did he die?
No, he didn't die. No, fortunately.
Right.
I mean, we're glad that he didn't die. I don't even think he's had any debilitating injury from it.
And the police came, and what happened?
Oh yeah. Well, it's a funny thing when the cops came, because the cops who I knew, all the cops, because I'm calling them all the time. The guy goes, well, later, a few minutes after things cooled down, he says, yeah, we were just over at this nightclub around the corner, and they were apparently there, and they were surveilling some people who left, and the undercover cops had left, so everybody was coming back. Lookout had told them the coast is clear, so they were going back to the Shattuck. And I just happened to come out. The timing was just wrong. You know, just another minute inside, and we would have passed and not seen each other. But yeah, that was it.
Wow. So how So then how did things change for you after that? They left you alone, and you
No.
was that your impetus for running for office? Because first you ran against Bruner, right?
Yeah, well,
And for District 1 Council?
well, the thing with that was, it was pretty much the response that I got after the
Yeah,
shooting. It
yeah.
was like, okay, this thing came to a real head, okay? Right? They're just like, I've been warning you people for a long time that you're doing a lousy job. You aren't communicating with these people. You aren't getting them to change their behavior. You're leaving it for us to fend for ourselves. So then it came to where I went to the city council immediately after the shooting and basically says, hey, I'm sure you folks have caught the news. I'm here to tell you, you got to get your act together. Because things like this are happening because you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And Telefuente was the Ignacio was the president, I think, at the time, or at least that night, and he was the only person to say anything, which was, I still respect him for that, because he just says, hey, we kind of constrain what we can say, and I realized it wasn't, and this is the other part of why I'm running for office. He was not constrained because the city attorney told him don't say anything because we're being involved in litigation. He was constrained because they didn't want to piss off some possible constituents. And I said, well, that's not a reason not to say something. You got the facts right in your hand. If you don't act on them, then you're part of the problem. So I looked then as, well, I can't depend on these people in the council to ever get better, because if they don't start doing right after this incident, then they're immune to this type of impetus for change. So it was in 2008, and I said, okay, I would have ran from there then if I had really thought about it more. But I said, well, at the very least, I can run for Bruner's office because I know her, I know what she's doing, and enough people around that I should be able to get enough people to help me in.
Patrick McCullough lost in his first bid to become Oakland's District 1 City Council member then, and in 2014, where you just saw the interview, he lost to the eventual and current mayor of Oakland, Libby Schaaf. In closing, I thank the residents of North Oakland for sharing this video information with me. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. Bookmark OaklandNewsNow.com as well. Again, thank you. Music by Dia Vantel is called Destroyer.